Hi, I'm Pastor Jacob Fields, and this is week 4 of my first year as the pastor of Blue Mound United Methodist Church, and man, this is fun. So, what I mean by that is, this week we had a game night on Saturday night. On Saturday we also, a member of our church hosted an event in the community for the Antique Tractor Club. And they invited our family out. My 2 little boys just absolutely loved seeing the tractors, and it was just a lot of fun the whole day, getting to know people, getting to meet new people, and time again this past week I just kept having this thought that I can't believe that I get to do this. Being a pastor is it's a lot of work. It's a heavy thing. It's not to be taken lightly, but man, I really enjoy this, and so I'm just excited about a lot of things, and we continued to get some behind the scenes work, like non-visible work, done on the website and other things that have to do with getting to where daily tasks, weekly tasks are set up and easier to do. Things that they don't teach you in seminary about how to establish a pattern of operations and things like that. But it's all been fun. It's been wonderful, and I enjoy what I'm getting to do. So hopefully very soon you'll begin seeing significant progress on our website, bluemoundumc.org. We're now being hosted through UMCOM, and we have access to some pretty powerful tools that I had to do a little bit of learning on. This week we also had a wonderful time of coffee with the pastor on Sunday morning during our Sunday school hour, and we had a very packed room, a bunch of people that got together for an informal time of asking me whatever question they could think of, and some of them were some pretty significant theological questions, and some of them were a little bit lighter, and then some of them had to do with practical ministry. And one of the things that caught me the most was a question about goals, and I answered it the way that I had answered previously when I was meeting with the SPRC before I actually became the pastor here. And that is that if I were to articulate a goal this quickly, that it would be my goal instead of our goal together. And if we're supposed to be in ministry together, if we're going to accomplish things, it needs to be not made after my own image, but rather it needs to be something that comes out of our collective work together. And at the same time that question was asked, there was kind of a concern about a growing emphasis on numbers, specifically in worship attendance among clergy, that this person had noticed. And I assured this person that and everybody that my focus is more on people than a number, but numbers are a way of measuring. And so I will pay attention to numbers, but every single number is a representative of a story, of a life that God is already working within. And so if we've got an average worship attendance of the last 3 years of 45, then that's 45 people on average whom we're getting to share the story of God in their life with them, and doing work together for the sake of creating disciples and transforming the world. And so if you could change that number to 50 or 55 or 60, or excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough, and that's not been fun the last few days. But if you can grow that average worship attendance, that it's not for the sake of getting a higher number, but that's for the sake of sharing in more stories, that we get to be a part of God shaping people's lives, and people using what God's doing in their lives to shape the world around them. And that gets me excited. It reminds me of I coached a soccer team, a 3rd and 4th grade co-ed soccer team when I was in college. and getting to teach the fundamentals of soccer. Like, some of the kids wanted to be concerned with shooting drills all the time. They wanted to get goals. They wanted to put a number up on the scoreboard. And I continued to just teach fundamentals, and how to apply those fundamentals in playing the game. And I said over and over again back then, and it comes out a lot even now in my career in ministry, that when we concentrate on doing the right thing for the right reasons and continuing to do that time after time after time after time, the results happen. If you play soccer the proper way, the positive outcome happens. That team was undefeated, by the way, and it wasn't because we had one of those like superstars that just out-dribbled everybody. And no, it's because we had a team that passed and knew where to move the ball, when, and they got opportunities because of that. And so if we as a church can do the right thing for the right reasons time and time again, then opportunities will happen, and growth will likely happen because of that. But paying attention to a number for the sake of a number is not something that I'm interested in, nor really any pastor that I know of. So I hope that makes sense. This past week, my sermon was about us as children of God, and I talked briefly, well, not briefly, it was pretty much the entire thing, about how sometimes our images and associations of relationships that we experience in our own lives can shape the image of God that we have, when really it should be vice versa. And so we talked about the baggage that many people have in seeing God as Father when they had a difficult relationship with a father, or no relationship at all with a father. Sometimes people don't want to be in a relationship with a father because of their experience with their own father. And I talked about how it's okay to view God as mother, if that's helpful for your personal relationship with God, because God is our parent, and God created male and female both in God's image. And if God is our creator, if God is the one that brought us into this world, that's a lot of motherly qualities as well. And so God as our parent, again, still sometimes has a negative thing for people. Sometimes people had a negative relationship with both their father and their mother. And so even further, the scripture passage says that we're given a spirit of adoption, by which we get to use an intimate word for parent. Abba is what Jesus says, which is often translated as father, but it's more of an intimate thing, more like a daddy type thing, or even mommy, except it was a masculine use of the word. So we talked about that, and how what's real is that God desires a relationship, an intimate relationship with each and every one of us, and that God wouldn't want any of our negative baggage of our human relationships to stand in the way of a personal relationship with God. And that God is powerful enough to redeem whatever brokenness we have around those images as well. This coming week, my sermon is going to be also from Romans chapter 8, this time verses 26 through 39. And this is that ever so famous passage of that there's nothing that can separate us from the love of God, neither height, nor depth, nor angel, nor demon, nothing can separate us from the love of God. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to also maybe talk a little bit about the not safe for work Bible passage from Genesis chapter 29, 15 through 28. And that's the story of where Jacob ends up marrying both of Laban's daughters. It's not quite a safe for work passage. So I'm going to figure out how to navigate that that is honorable to the theme of nothing separates us from the love of God, as well as finds a way to hopefully be uplifting and empowering for people's faith. So if you're in the area, if you weren't able to join us this past week, we'd love to see you at Blue Mound, and if not, you can always catch the sermon afterwards online. And so if you can join us either digitally or physically, we very much enjoy that. Grace and peace.